this movie was not for you. It was not for you. It was for me. Okay, this movie was made for me. Hey, it's Ellie. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. And the FNAF movie is finally here. Oh my gosh, 8 years in the making. It's finally here with an all-star cast. And honestly, it was everything I could have asked for. Now, I know that might cause a little, This was not a perfect movie. This was not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. I did not expect it to be a perfect movie. I did not go in expecting, honestly, any more than what I got. And even then, I still got a little bit more than what I asked for. There were definitely some glaring issues, but hey, there's gonna be a sequel, so I think they have time to fix them. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the Freddy. If at any time you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe because I make videos like this all the time. And comment down below if you like the movie. If you like the movie but you thought there were some problems, or if you didn't like the movie at all, hey, that's okay. And let's jump into it. So right off the bat here, I saw a really good tweet that summarized this, and I won't be able to find it, but it was like, if you are a FNAF fan that is really into the lore, this is going to be like an 8 out of 10. If you're a FNAF fan that's into the games, maybe like a 6 out of 10. And if you just know about FNAF, maybe 4 to 5 out of 10. And then if you don't know anything about FNAF, you're not gonna like the movie. And honestly, I couldn't agree more with that statement. Like, this was not just for FNAF fans, but it was for FNAF fans who have a vested interest in the lore. If you aren't deep in it, if you aren't matpat FNAF deep in it, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, this movie, I promise you, if you were into the gameplay, like apparently that IGN reviewer is and was expecting a gameplay come to life, I don't know what to tell you. Think about this. The Mario movie, the Sonic movie, those movies were very, not plot based, because a lot of people were complaining about the fact that there was no plot in the Mario movie, but it was very much so like focusing on building the characters as characters and less about, oh look, it's Mario and he's gonna go through a typical Mario level. There were definitely instances of that in the Mario movie, but overall it was more about building the characters and building the world around you. Look at all these cool environments that we made into a Mario movie. Same with the Sonic movie. The Sonic movie was absolutely more about plot and more about building Sonic as a character and giving Sonic like issues that would pertain to him coming to a new world. This is also what is happening with FNAF. This is more like taking the idea of FNAF and taking the loose concepts around like dead children and ghosts and haunted animatronics and kind of giving it its own little spin. This was definitely an alternate universe, so to anybody who's mad that this didn't show the lore correctly or it made no sense to the lore, I don't know what you were expecting. Like, genuinely, do you know how insane it would be if this movie was a one-to-one recreation of the lore? Scott Cawthon would have to actually define what the lore is. That's what he would have had to do. And judging by the fact that like what has kept FNAF alive for so long is the fact that the lore is so complicated and doesn't make a whole lot of sense and there is no one true answer right now, why would he then go to a movie that is like an hour and a half to 2 hours long trying to incorporate all of the lore and what is the real true lore? So that I saw a little bit on Twitter of people talking about that I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. For the people who like the movies, like I know a lot of YouTubers watched it and they were like lukewarm about it, and it's like I feel like a lot of those YouTubers, aside from the FNAF YouTubers, play the games a lot for the gameplay of it and the horror aspect of it. This was definitely like a Goosebumps movie. First of all, it's PG-13. It was definitely aimed towards kids, and we'll get to that in a second, but this movie was not really meant to be all that scary. It is technically considered a horror movie just by the nature of the franchise, but it's definitely not supposed to be scary. And I never got that. In fact, I was like laughing on a lot of occasions, mostly because I was just so happy that I was like watching the movie, like I was watching the FNAF movie, like that's crazy. And so I was laughing and like really like heart touched by a lot of the stuff. And the stuff that was supposed to be tense, I did get that feeling from, except for when somebody in my theater decided they wanted to go horror, 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 horror 8 times. The first time, it was funny. It got a laugh out of everybody in the theater. The next like 5 times that he did it, his friends literally told him to shut the fuck up. Like his friends actually had to tell him to shut up. It was that bad. So if you're not into FNAF, but you kind of want to go watch this movie, absolutely. It's a good time. If you don't take it too seriously, which I don't think you should be, it's a really good time. I would say like 90% of the movie you're gonna be able to understand. Like, they explain a lot of things. There's actually a character in this movie, which we'll get to, whose job is to basically explain the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. So you'll understand a lot of the movie. However, like the last like 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, I'm not gonna lie to you, that was for us. That was pure fan service for the FNAF fans, okay? So you might need a little bit of an explainer as to what is going on at the end of the movie. Understandable. Though I will say, I think they did a really good job of setting up the end of the movie. However, certain things that certain characters do and say don't make sense unless you're in the FNAF brain rot, okay? Giving Josh Hutcherson this role was not something that I ever thought was ever gonna happen. If you would have asked me during the peak of like Hunger Games madness, Josh Hutcherson is going to play Mike in the FNAF movie, I would have slapped you across your face. But he does it so well. Like, he at this point gets typecasted as Wet Cat Man at this point. Like, he is just so, you know, wet cat baby girl. He does. And it's always been a thing in the fandom to make Mike this wet cat baby girl, despite the fact that we really don't know anything about Mike or his personality for that matter. So we just kind of superimpose, this is when like fanon takes over canon, because we just kind of superimpose this wet cat personality onto Michael, and that has now transferred to this movie, intentionally or not. It's there. I always enjoy male characters like this because I feel like it's a nice refresher to other male characters who have like hardened their hearts because of all the trauma they went through, and now they're like super cold and they don't hold any affection for anybody, despite the fact that they probably should, because now they are surrounded by love, but they still don't show any type of emotion towards that. But in this case with Mike, this fanon canon side of him is more like, despite the fact that he has been beaten down and beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, and he has every right in the world to be a cold person, and he kind of tries to play that off in the movie. He tries to play this like cold-hearted person, but he just like can't do it. He can't do it. Like, every time his sister says something to him, he breaks down, and that's great. I love that. Like, you know, it showed that like, yes, this person has been hurt before in the past, but they still hold that love in their hearts for the people around them, and they show it as well. I also love that we just get Abby kind of being both neurodivergent coded as well as like sixth sense coded, like she's able to see ghosts and stuff like that. I wonder if it was just a red herring in the beginning. It probably was, when she said that like, oh, you're sitting on my friend, if that was, now knowing what we know, was that like a ghost person? Was it not a ghost person? Either way, her seeing ghosts in this movie was like the least complicated thing in the movie, right? All of the reviews that I've seen, nobody is talking about the fact that Abby just can see ghosts. Like, that's just a thing. It doesn't have to do with their lineage. It doesn't have to do with anything that happened to her as a kid. That is just something that she can do, and nobody really questions it. Of course, the movie's not gonna question it, but I mean, like, outside of the movie, no one's really questioning that, like, oh, this girl can see ghosts, you know? The Springtrap reveal was great. Like, amazing. Literally, people were clapping in my theater when Springtrap came on the scene. It was a really good entrance. Despite the fact that this was in the trailers, it was still like a moment that everybody was like, yeah, there he is. My only gripe is that Matthew Lillard got like a grand total of 10 minutes of screen time, okay? But like, hey, like he says, he always comes back. Once again, everybody cheered, which also is the one thing that like people don't know that much about FNAF, and I agree with this take. That line was so shoehorned in. There was no reason for that line to be there. There was no point. Like, if Matthew Lillard had like popped up very randomly in the movie and like was hinting that he's kind of this cockroach person who like just seems to be everywhere and you can't really seem to shake him or get rid of him, it would have made more sense at the end of the movie that he says that. Like, he obviously said that for the sake of FNAF fans. Again, like I said, like the last 10 minutes of the movie is pure fan service for the fans. The spring lock scene was, oh, he did it so well. He did the twitching, the screaming. Oh my gosh, the like vindictive monologue. Oh, it was peak. It was peak. What can I say? Oh my god, Freddy. Wait, Freddy. He's gonna finish this video. I wish I could just perch him. I'd have to do the video like this. Wait, actually, can I could just put him here. I could just put him there. And the other character that people may have a problem with, and I did have some sort of a problem with, was Vanessa. Now, here's the thing. Vanessa is such a wasted potential of a character in Security Breach. She is. There was so much that they were obviously supposed to be doing with her character, especially the tragedy of her character, and that just, like, did not happen. And it really sucks because she was set up to be a really interesting character. So in this movie, when they shrouded her in mystery and then gave her a really important, like, point to play, I really liked that. I liked that she wasn't just an encyclopedia, because she kind of is, until the very end of the movie. And at the end of the movie, we get, you know, the big plot twist, which was bigger than the plot twist of, you know, William being Springtrap. Like, that's so obvious, but obviously we don't know what the fuck FNAF is. That was probably a really weird, again, because Matthew Lillard was barely in this movie, it was a very weird reveal, probably for somebody who knows nothing about FNAF and doesn't know who the purple guy is or anything like that. It was so obvious from the beginning. You're gonna get a really important actor to play a career counselor, and then you're gonna make him do his signature thing that he does in the signature movie that he's in. He's not that important to the movie. Like, I feel like if you knew who Matthew Lillard was, you could put two and two together, like, oh, he's the big bad or whatever. If you weren't paying attention to the very first beginning scene with the, like, 8-bit mini games, then you actually may not even know what the fuck is going on. Because people talk about, like, oh, 8 kids went missing, or 5 kids, however many kids went missing, and somebody killed them, and the killer was never caught, like, barely. But we don't even get that explanation until, like, the end of the movie. So I understand if you're not into FNAF, like, really not understanding that whole point. And the whole twist of the career counselor being William Afton probably doesn't hit much, like, if at all. And obviously for people who know the lore, like, that twist, everyone's going like, oh, like, we already knew that. We've been new. The real twist in the movie for me was Vanessa being his daughter. That was, like, the real big twist of the movie. Even though that was, I don't know if that was obvious, but it was definitely a twist. For me, I was like, okay, like, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? And I think we have so much potential, and I'm glad she didn't die, because we have so much potential with her character now, and especially if she maybe is taking the place of Mike from the games. Like, now she has to do her father's bidding, and she has to, like, kind of fight back, and maybe we even add the brainwashing from Security Breach. That would make for a really good mix of, like, those two characters together, and how she's kind of fighting against doing her father's bidding because obviously she doesn't want to kill children. I also have this, like, crack theory that maybe she's not even his real child. Like, maybe he lost all his children, the crying child, and then maybe even Elizabeth. Maybe he lost all those children, and so he kidnapped her, like, when she was, like, really young, and now that's the only father that she knows. So now she's kind of caught between, you know, this man who's not really her father and the only person who has ever raised her. I feel like that could offer, like, a really good narrative conundrum, because, like, the idea that this person who is a serial killer was nice to you as a child and was treating you normally like a normal child, and you got to grow up with all these affordances and whatever. Meanwhile, he's off killing kids, you know? But hey, that's just a theory. Speaking of which, the cameos in this movie, I thought were done really, really tasteful. Did you know? Fun fact. Markiplier was supposed to be the security guard at the very beginning of the movie. The opening scene of the movie. Can you imagine? The scene opens up and the first thing we see is Markiplier. The theater would have went crazy. I would have went crazy. But no, he was too busy filming Iron Lung. Speaking of which, that movie better get a full theatrical release. Not only in artsy-fartsy movie theaters. I want to see a full theatrical release for that movie. That's a topic for another day. I think relegating the YouTuber cameos to just being in very comedic moments was really good. Because had these YouTubers shown up in, like, any other non-comedic moments, it would have ruined it. First of all, none of these YouTubers should be at Freddy's anyway, except for the people I know. There were some who did the, like, smashing up stuff. I know that was a whole thing, but, like, I mean, like, in general, like, there would be no reason for Matthew Patrick to be there. You know what I mean? Why did I say his full government name like that? But I thought it was really cool, and especially because it was such a contained scene that all of us could, like, be like, oh my god, it's matpat, and it's a funny scene. Like, the actual contextualization of the scene and, like, all the little Easter eggs, his name tag, his acting lines, and then also the name of the restaurant itself, like, all of that being in such a self-contained, pretty comical moment, really, like, it was good. It was really good, and it didn't take me out of the movie at all. Corey Kenshin also did a really good job in his parts of the movie, and I love the little end scene with Balloon Boy. I thought that was a very cute gag. But it'd be also cool if Balloon Boy was, like, an actual threat in the next movie, because he is in FNAF 2, technically. And of course, lastly, we gotta talk about the animatronics. Oh my god. I know people were a little bit perplexed about the little fun, cute little scene, the sleepover scene with Abby and Mike and Vanessa and the rest of the animatronics. And to that I say, do you not want to have a sleepover Freddy Fazbear? Look at the FNAF fandom for longer than 5 seconds. Do you think any of us wouldn't drop a hat to go have a sleepover with fucking Freddy Fazbear, my guy? Like, that was pure fan service for the sake of fan service. And also, like, when you look into it narratively, it's pretty tragic because these are children who never actually got to be children. And so them having their chance to be children even in this way, it was really cute and it was really fun. And we got a really good look at the animatronics. I feel like that was kind of like the reason for this more than anything else, is to get like a really good look at the mobility of these animatronics. They were lifting tables. They were lifting tables and dancing and spinning around like that. These animatronics were so cool. They were so cool. I will say though, the expressions were so funny. Sometimes I couldn't take the expressions seriously. Freddy was mean mugging Mike the entire time, and my theater in me erupted into laughter every single time it happened. And I also think there was an appropriate level of gore for a PG-13 movie that is heavily aimed at children. I think people forget that. Now, I'm not saying that children don't deserve a good movie, and for the sake of that, I actually think this was a really good movie, a really good Goosebumps-esque movie for children. If you were going in expecting gore, which there were some surprising gore scenes. Like, I'm sure because it was PG-13, they had to kind of pick and choose. They probably only, like, you know how, like, PG-13, I think you get, like, one fuck in the movie, and you have to kind of save it for the last half of the movie. When Josh Hutcherson gets trapped in, like, the parts and service room or, like, whatever, and he sees all the gore and the messed up faces, like that guy who got attacked by the cupcakes messed up face, which is funny because that cupcake is the most hilarious, like, one. Like, out of all the animatronics, the cupcake is the least scariest, but it's the most deadly, arguably. Like, I feel like scariest was, like, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, then Freddy, because Bonnie and Freddy were just goofy. They were goofy to me. But obviously Foxy, he's so mangled that it looks like scary. That cupcake, man, that cupcake was so funny. But then you see that guy's face who got absolutely mauled, and you think, oh, actually that cupcake might be the deadliest. Oh, there were so many Easter eggs and nods to the FNAF fandom that I can't help but think that this was for anybody else other than the FNAF fandom. And the FNAF fandom came out in droves. The literal first plot point of the movie, the main plot point of the movie, is dream theory. Which, if you don't know, dream theory is this super controversial theory about, like, the first 3 games all being a dream made up by the crying child or Mike or whoever we play as in FNAF 4. And it still, to this day, tears the fandom apart sometimes. I can't wait to rewatch this, like, a million times and see the second one like 12 years from now. That's about it. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you did, you are a real one. I thought this wasn't going to be long, but I've been recording for almost 30 minutes now, so it just turns out that I had, like, a lot to say about this movie, and I understand why people might not have liked it, but I think it's one of those things where you just have to understand that it's not for you. And I'm not trying to say that, like, it's just not for you, but, like, you know what's not for me? Most action movies. I love a good, you know what, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say I love a good Marvel movie, but we all know how those have been lately. But, you know, like Mission Impossible, 007, all those types of movies are not for me. And frankly, I don't really like them all that much. But I'm not gonna go into the movie and be like, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid. Like, no, it's not for me. And I can understand that while still respecting the movie for what it is. I feel like if a lot of people go at it with that context, if you, first of all, go into this movie not serious at all. It's lighthearted, please. Go into the movie with really lighthearted to have a good time. You're gonna have a good time. So let me know your theories on the movie. Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Again, like, you know, we can have this conversation down below. I promise I'm not gonna come at you. Just know that these are my feelings on the movie and my solo feelings on the movie, because this movie was made for me, okay? Scott Cawthon called me on the phone and was like, do you want this movie? And I was like, yes, please, please. And you can also reach me on all of my social medias. We could come talk to me about literally anything. Let me know what other videos you would like to see down below. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Love and peace.